Hello and welcome to what I want to dub my corner chat. I want to talk today about books. I used to be a huge reader. When I was a kid and growing up, I read all the time. I could get through books in a single day, no problem. As an adult, other things have started to take over my life. Work and social media and movies and other entertainment that's so much easier to just consume and binge. And I've gotten so out of the habit of reading. And I thought that a good way to motivate me to read again is to start sharing things that I've read, things that I enjoy. So what better place to start than with some of my favorite books? So I'm going to start with two of the more well-known books on this list and then talk about ones that you might not have heard of. So my first one is Good Omens, and you can probably tell just based on how beat up it is how much I love this book. With the series coming to Amazon, I'm sure that you have probably heard of this one. Of course, it's grown immensely in popularity and fame because of that series. I've really enjoyed people who never would have heard of Good Omens, like my own family members, discovering it and watching the show. It is such a perfect balance of Terry Prachett and Neil Gaiman's humor. It's so funny, it's so witty, it's so clever. The different little bits, the different bits of humor. If the humor in it doesn't get you from the first couple of pages, you're probably not going to enjoy the book. And if you like it from the first few pages, you're going to like the rest of the book. Like, he plays an ineffable game of his own devising, which might be compared from the perspective of any of the other players to being involved in an obscure and complex version of poker in a pitch dark room with blank cards for infinite stakes with a dealer who won't tell you the rules and who smiles all the time. I love that part, and the book is just chock full of little bits like that. So highly recommend it. I'm sure most people have read this, but if you've only watched the show, read the book. The show is amazing in the things that it develops, but the book is a classic, and it has just all those sort of funny little moments that you just can't capture in the same way in a show. So highly recommend Good Omens. So the next one on my list is one that is on a lot of people's fantasy lists, and that is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I will say that some of the story I'm not in love with. The romance was one that I had a really hard time getting into. But the good news is that to me is a minor flaw in a beautifully written book with so much atmosphere. Everything just leaps off the page. The descriptions of the food, the colors, the circus, this rivalry between the two wizards. It wants you to be immersed in the world, and it absolutely succeeds. This is such a good autumn time book especially, but I think it's a good book anytime you want to just sit down and be super lost in a world. So definitely recommend checking out The Night Circus. And then on to two series that you may or may not know about, just depending on how much fantasy and sci-fi you read. And one's fantasy and one's sci-fi. And the first is the Lady Trent Memoirs. This is the first one. It's a natural history of dragons. And I actually have all of the books, and this might be, other than a couple of other series, the only book series I have ever bought in my life outright that is this big. I have followed this series since the very first book, and it is so incredible. It's set in a fictional Victorian world with a woman named Isabella, who later is known as Lady Trent, hence the title of the series, the Lady Trent Memoirs. And it is about her discovering her love of dragons and going against society and learning ways to be herself while also pursuing this passion and studying. It would be like the first women who went to, say, Egypt or something, learning how to still fit into society while following their passions. And it creates such vivid worlds. Each book is a different sort of journey, an expedition that she goes on, and they're all set in such different places. One of my favorite things about the series, beyond the natural history aspect and the world building, is how Isabella, while she learns to be outspoken and she learns to stand up for herself, she doesn't do the young adult novel trope of oh, we live in a proper society and everything, but I'm the special, like, I don't have to follow society's rules. This book recognizes how devastating that actually would be. And you know, she plays the game. She does what she can to live by society's rules while still being true to herself and her desire to pursue studying dragons. And I so appreciate that Marie Brennan does that. And then the final series that I have is called the Wayfarer series by Becky Chambers. I have the last 2 books here. I don't have the first 2. This one is Record of a Spaceborne Few, and this one is Galaxy and the Ground Within. The other 2 are The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet and A Close and Common Orbit. And they are all loosely tied together. It's not a series so much as a set of books that are all set in the same universe that she's created. And it's a space universe that is such a turn on the normal, gritty, dark universe that we see in so many sci-fi books. That isn't to say that bad things don't happen, that there isn't grief or loss or war, but it is done in a way that makes the happy things and the good things in life feel just as important, which is something that very few series I feel do. Even our own news system does not choose to focus and give equal attention to the positive things. And I think that's really what I love about the world that Becky Chambers built, was just how much celebration is in the good and the bad. And they are gorgeous books. I do think that the first 2 are the strongest. They are the ones that have the strongest narrative. These other 2 are, I think, really good if you've already know the world. They're sort of like companion pieces that sort of let you expand in the world and what you know on some of the characters. But I'd say if you're looking for strong stories, I'd recommend the first 2. But they're all really excellent. The creation of the world and the alien species and the different inclusion of gender and lack of gender and all the different ways that it is presented to have a family or to have children and to not have children and to not have families or create your own families. It's just really, really beautiful. She has a new novella series about robots and a monk and them sort of wandering through the woods, and it has a lot of coziness and tea. And I love how much Becky Chambers loves tea, because I love tea. And it's such a beautiful little novella series. I've read the first one. The second one is coming out in July, so I'm so excited to see what else she does. This was the last book in the series. She's done with Wayfarer series, at least for the time being. And while it's sad, I am so excited to see what else she's going to do. Absolutely one of my favorite authors. And this series is just sort of a feeling of kind of home, really. It's really a special series. So I highly recommend it. So those are my favorites. I have, of course, so many other books that I love, but when I think of ones that I really truly adore, those are the first ones that come to my mind. What are some of your favorite books? Do you have any recommendations? Share with me, let me know. Maybe we can help each other read more, because it's something I really want to get back into. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching. If you did, please leave a review, please leave a like. Let me know what you thought in the comments. Thanks.